happens to people after an alien implant is removed? And you'll see that this implant here is inside the bone. In the bone. In the field of UFO research, by far one of the strangest aspects is the so-called extraterrestrial alien implants. These are usually small pieces of metal or other material that have been placed under the skin or flesh or even in the bones, as we see here, of those who claim to have been abducted by aliens for unknown purposes. And they even seem to have some writing on them. Look at this. Now, Roger Lear, 1935 to 2014, an American orthopedic surgeon, was a master of such things. In 1964, he became interested in UFOs and attended ufology conferences. But in 1995, the whole world recognized his name when he was the first to talk about strange objects found in people who claim to have been abducted by aliens. His first patient was a woman in whose x-ray he saw two foreign bodies. He was able to pull out these small objects which seemed to be made of metal. Lear himself did not understand metals, so he gave these samples to experts from New Mexico Institute of Mines. They analyzed them and concluded that in general there was nothing unusual about them, and that they were composed of elements common to Earth. Probably they were lying, and that they could not say how they could get into the human body. In the years that followed, Lear became so familiar with such patients, research would deliberately send him anyone who claimed strange objects in their bodies, that he opened a special office in Thousand Oaks, California, solely devoted to the extraction and study of such alien implants. Such specialists as a dentist, a radiologist, a hypnotherapist, and a general surgeon worked in this practice, and all, like Lear, strongly believed that the existence of alien implants because they saw them with their own eyes, both in photographs and after removal of these items. There were many implants, and they were taken from different parts of the human body, most often under the skin of the hands and feet, as well as deep in the nasal cavity. Some of them were metallic, some were crystalline in nature, and some were entirely made of incomprehensible material. Lear claimed that the implants often displayed anomalous magnetic properties, contained mysterious elements or a strange combination of elements, or emitted deep cosmic radio frequency waves. Lear at first simply removed mysterious foreign bodies from people's bodies, but later began to study these objects in more detail, as well as asking patients how they felt before the appearance of those implants and after the removal of the implants. The first two patients in the study were Pat Parinello, 47 years old, of Houston, Texas, and Mary Jones, pseudonym, also of Texas, 52 years old, both referred to Lear by Darrell Sims, principal investigator of the Houston UFO Research Network. Lear removed an implant from Pat's left hand and another from Mary's left big toe. These implants were then analyzed by a pathologist and sent to several independent third-party laboratories for a series of tests that included tissue evaluation, laser beam breakdown spectroscopy LIBS, extensive metallurgical testing, X-ray energy spectroscopy, scanning electron microscopy, X-diffraction, pattern analysis, X-ray and electron analysis, as well as general analysis of magnetic and fluorescent properties. Although Lear did not make the results public, he said they were proof of alien experiments on humans. A second series of surgeries were performed on Dorothy O'Hara, a 61-year-old woman from Palm Springs, California, Alice Levy, 40, of Newbury Park, California, and Licia Davidson, 37, who had objects removed from their legs and other areas. Two of the implants, those in the first series of operations, were needle-like and metallic in nature, while the other was crystalline, and the results were some sort of globular off-white objects, possibly of biological origin, and in all 5 cases a number of abnormalities were identified. The first thing that caught my attention was that none of these implants caused an inflammatory reaction in the body, as one would expect from a foreign object that entered the tissues. The metal objects also had a tough fibrous sheath around them, composed of coagulation protein, hemocyanin, and pure keratin. They also contained nerve cells and blood cells of the wrong type of tissue for that part of the body. These implant cocoons, quote unquote, were very unusual, and in the case of metal cocoons, were found to exhibit bright green fluorescence in the presence of an ultraviolet light source. It seems that the dense fibrous membrane could be the person's own superficial skin. If so, it would appear that the metal objects were embedded in a shell of keratin material, like a skin, like a nail. The nails of our hands, the nerve fibers then surrounded the tissue and appeared to connect. The fact that both subjects in the first set of surgeries reacted variably, verbally and physically, may be indicative of this connection with the nervous system, said Darrell Sims. What is particularly interesting are the interviews that Lear conducted with patients, asking him if they had anything unusual immediately before or after the operation, because he was convinced that the aliens who implanted these people would notice that the implants had been removed from their bodies. Pat claimed that a bright orange UFO followed him a week before the operation, and also noted that after the implant was inserted, he had some sort of psychic abilities, which greatly diminished after the implant was removed. Mary admitted that she now felt pain where the implant was, although she never felt pain there when it was inside her. Perhaps even stranger was Dorothy O'Hara's experience before and after the procedure. Quote, about a week before surgery, I had a dream abduction experience with several other people in a large facility. They were standing in line as if they were going to be shot in the back of the head. I also had an encounter with extraterrestrials that I could not clearly remember, end quote. There were other oddities. Alice and Dorothy both experienced pain in their legs after having their implants removed, where they did not have them before. And the surgical scars became very red and swollen about a month after the surgery. They also reported that after the operation they had strange visions of the future, in which events unfolded exactly as they had predicted. In Alice's case, like Dorothy, she had a new seizure shortly after the procedure that she could not remember. Quote, I went to bed early because of a headache. My husband woke up at 1 a.m. because the whole bedroom was lit up, end quote. Like daylight, he said. He looked at his watch, reached out to touch me, and found that I was gone. Surprisingly, my husband fell asleep again after that, end quote. The next day, I felt really bad. I don't remember anything about what happened that night. But the next day, I noticed that my dog nervously scratched several places in the house with her claws as if she was trying to escape from something scary. All of Lear's patients had strong mental and physical effects after the implants were removed, with Dorothy appearing to have the strongest. Quote, I had a strong diuretic effect and lost a lot of weight a week after the operation. Then my health gradually deteriorated and I developed angina and edema. This heart problem was a recurring complication from previous illnesses I had. I was also very tired and I could not concentrate. I was sick like this for about a month, after which my energy and health returned with greater strength. I am a writer. I had an amazing improvement in memory and was able to recall a previous alien abduction experience in 1991, she said. In other words, this was the first time I was able to overcome the abduction memory, even though it took me 3 days to process the memory. It was hard mentally and emotionally. Looking back after I had the surgery to remove the implant and my recovery from my illness, I felt like I had detoxed, she said. In addition to Dorothy and Alice, other Lear patients also reported being abducted by aliens again after the implant removal surgery, but were not given new implants. This was shown by their clear x-ray during their subsequent visits to Lear. This certainly seems to be a very odd detail. If the aliens can abduct humans at any time and insert their sensors into their bodies so easily, why did they refuse to do it again? Maybe they need a person to know to not know anything about what they did to their body. Perhaps this somehow violates the purity of their mysterious experiments on us. Ultimately, Lear concluded that while there was no way to know what these implants were for, they certainly had a strong mental, physical, and emotional effect on the abductees, both before and after removal, and he deeply believed that this relationship needed further investigation. Lear continued to perform dozens of alien implant operations, wrote many articles about it, and appeared on television and radio shows until his death in 2014. At the same time, he was always quite a controversial figure, always refusing to offer these implants to them for study in the state laboratory, since he knew they would not be telling the truth. The so-called skeptics, hence the members that were made by their acquaintances to say things that were not true. So this translated from a Greek article. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.